When people think of acts of compassion, oftentimes they think of taking someone to the hospital, administering medicine, feeding the hungry, or giving clothes to the homeless and shelter to the homeless. But one of the acts of compassion that is really one of the greatest acts of compassion is calling out false teachers for their abuse of ignorant people. That's compassion. Ladies and gentlemen, your friend Spencer here. I want to tell you a story. A while back, I was in Africa. It was years ago. I was in Africa. We were staying in a hotel in Western Kenya, and the morning had come, and I got up that morning, getting ready to go to breakfast to eat with our team that day. And I'm standing on the side of the road, and I remember across the street, behind the building there, I heard what sounded like somebody taking a 2x4 and hitting something with it. And what they hit wasn't metallic. It sounded like they were hitting someone with a 2x4. And I heard a man yelling in Swahili and just screaming and angry. And he swung what sounded like just like an object, or like a board or something. And he hit, and it sounded like he hit a woman. And then all of a sudden I heard a noise, and I thought, what in the world is going on? I said, it's too early for people to be beating each other to death out here in Africa. And this person's yelling and screaming Swahili and hitting something, and it sounded like a woman was screaming. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm over here in Bungoma, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, and nobody's gotten up yet. I'm out here by myself, and right behind that building, like 100 feet from me, this guy is beating a woman to death with a board, and it's like 8:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting there thinking all these scenarios are going through my head. I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I do? What's going on? What's happening? I thought, this is the stuff you see in movies. I mean, this is crazy. What do I do? And so I said, all right, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go check it out. I'm not going to intervene right yet. I just want to go make sure that what is happening, what I think is happening, is actually happening. And so I went across the street, around the corner behind the building, thinking that, okay, I'm going to find some guy with a big old board beating some woman to death. And this guy's screaming, just beating this thing, and just yelling. And whatever's being beat is screaming for dear life. And I went across the way, and this guy is taking a piece of bamboo and he's hitting a goat with it. And I thought he was beating a woman, but that goat, when they scream, they can, from a distance, they can almost sound like a woman. And I thought to myself, oh, that was dumb. I'm going across the street, going to beat this guy up, thinking he's murdering some lady, and it turned out he was just some stupid goat. And he was hitting the goat because the goat he apparently ran a vegetable stand, and the goat got in it, and he ate a lot of his produce for the day. And then I thought to myself, why did I go over there? Why did I do that? Was it because I was being some macho, cocky American guy, some alpha male, some pro wrestler? I'm gonna go pick a fight with a guy. Was that why I did that? Or was it my compassion that led me to go that way and to do that? Why did I do that? What was it that was in me that caused me to do that? And really, I came to the conclusion it was my compassion. I didn't want to see somebody abused. I didn't want to see somebody get hurt needlessly. I didn't want to see anybody have the daylights beat out of them. And my compassion led me to, at the very least, go over there and at least say something. Say, that's not right. No. And really, calling out false teachers for their abuse of the ignorant, it's not an act of macho-ness. It's not an act of being controversial. It's not even an act of trying to be contentious. It's an act of compassion. I want you to see this video that came out. This is these are the Gracies, and these are two of the Gracies in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu empire. These guys, man, they are big names, and these are very well-known people in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world. And these guys go and they talk about a scenario where in a BJJ gym there in Brazil, somebody was being choked, and the guy tapped out. And for those of you who don't know how martial arts work, when you tap a guy, when you tap your hand like this on another guy, that means you give up. That means you stop. And these guys found a scenario where something like that was going on, and the guy was tapping, he's being choked, and the guy didn't let go, he kept choking him. And these guys get on a YouTube channel here, and they actually call this guy out for doing that. And I want you to see this for just a second.
Friends, a video is circulating on the internet right now that we absolutely have to go on the record and speak out against what is shown in the video. Yes, there's some gentleman in Brazil training jiu-jitsu, and there's loud music playing, a bunch of people rolling, and there's one man who actually catches somebody in a choke. White belt. It's like a purple belt catching a white belt in a choke, it looks like. And he's squeezing the choke.
Yes, he's tapping there.
Out, purple belt doesn't let go. Somebody comes over to kind of, hey, say stop. Purple belt says, hold on, keeps it, puts the white belt to sleep.
And he's out.
Eventually, let's go. Yeah, then what? Drag him around. They try to wake him a little bit. They're messing with him. People are rolling right next to him. And then they kind of, once he kind of wakes up, they pull him out of the way by his legs. And then the same training partner jumps back on top of him. And then keeps rolling with him.
They go back and start choking the guy again. Arm barring him.
I think maybe one more submission. But they just keep the roll going.
Okay, and these guys, these Gracie guys, they see this abuse taking place to this man, and they say, you know, this is wrong. We don't like this. This is not what the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community stands for. This is wrong. And you go through the comments in the video, and even I left a comment there, commending these men, saying, you know what, that was wrong. That was abusive to that man. That man could have gotten hurt. He was choked out, and he tapped, and the guy didn't let go. The guy choked him until he was actually unconscious, and that's an injustice. That should never be. That should never happen, especially in their Gracie gyms. They say this should never happen in a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gym, and I commend that. Amen. These guys are doing that, and they're not standing up against that because they're some sort of jerks. They're not standing up against this man for abusing this man because they just want to pick a fight. They're these macho guys. I've found that a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys are some of the most humble people you could ever meet, and but these guys are not saying these things because they're motivated by contention or motivated by controversy. They're motivated by compassion in calling out this injustice. Now, I want you to see also here, when guys like me call out false teachers for injustices done to people in the world of theology, we're not trying to be contentious per se, and we're not really trying to be contentious or create a controversy. This is an act of compassion. Now, I know some people out there that they love to find every little hair they can split and be a big jerk to everybody. Those people do exist, but here on this channel, we're not doing that. What we're doing is we're doing the same thing in a sense that the Gracies did there, where they're calling out abuse to people, calling out people being abused and hurt and taken advantage of by people who should know better. And when I look at things like this on the internet,
I feel such power here right now, guys.
I see abuse taking place.
Fire in Jesus' name. Whoa.
That's cruelty. That's deception.
Fire.
That's the work of darkness, what you just saw. What that man is doing is the theological equivalent of these people right here abusing this man, choking him out, and allowing him to just pass out. Even though he's tapping, they're still choking him. They're hurting this man, and taking advantage of him. And that's what's happening here in this video physically is the same exact thing that's happening in this video to these people spiritually. They're being taken advantage of because of their ignorance, And the people on the stage should know better. They should know better than this. I mean, that woman right there, Lord help her. Lord help that woman. She's being abused by these false teachers. And so let me propose something to you, okay? What if the Gracies there in that situation with the jujitsu deal, what if they just stood to the side and said, well, I know he's passed out and knocked out, and I know he tapped, and I know that as soon as they woke him up and he became conscious again, I know they jumped on him again and choked him again, and then put him in an armbar even after he tapped from the choke again. But I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge, because that would be unloving to say to that purple belt guy that was choking that guy senseless even after he tapped. I don't want to judge. I don't want to judge, because that's, I just don't want to be unloving. I know that maybe they see it a little different than I do, and I mean, there's room for us all, different styles, but he's choking the man to death. He tapped, and at this point, it becomes abuse. You're abusing this man. You're hurting this man. You're doing damage to this man. But I don't want to judge. I would say you're complicit in the crimes of that man. That purple belt in that BJJ video, he could be charged for a crime. He assaulted that man. He abused that man. And the people that are standing there allowing that to happen, they're complicit in that crime. And you judge not crowd that watch my videos, and you point, well, I don't want to judge. I show you Paula White practicing astral projection. I show you Bill Johnson doing all this crazy stuff with their impartations, and I show you all the truth about the theological abuse that's happening with these false teachers, abusing innocent people, abusing people who don't know any better, and manipulating them and making gain off of them. The Benny Hinns, the Paula Whites, the Brian Houstons, the Carl Lentz. I show you all of the abuse of these people that's being done to innocent people, per se, ignorant people. And you look there and just say, well, I don't want to judge. You know what you are? You're a partaker of their crimes. And a channel like this, we're not here to just fight just for the sake of fighting. I don't really like to fight. I like peace. I love peace, especially my home. I love peace. I don't like fighting with preachers. I don't like fighting with people. I don't fight with people I go to church with. I don't fight with other preachers. I like peace. I love it. But there comes a point where saying nothing makes you complicit in the abuse that's taking place today. The Bible says in Ephesians chapter number 5, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Meaning, that word reprove means to point a finger and say, no, that's not right. That's not right. You shouldn't have done that. And the work of compassion today has been so one-dimensional. It's food, it's humanitarian aid, it's giving medicine and giving a place to sleep and giving clothes, and it's all one-dimensional. But what about the spiritual compassion on people? I mean, we have the physical compassion. I think that's fine and good and well, nothing wrong with that. But what about the spiritual compassion? What about sticking up for people that are being manipulated? What about sticking up for people that are being abused? What about standing up to these theological bullies that are out there that are manipulating people and making merchandise out of them? And they don't care about their souls. They don't care about giving them the gospel. All they want is to manipulate these people with music and euphoria and manipulation tactics, and lying to them about experiences in the throne room of heaven that they had, and trying to prop themselves up as some spiritual authority, to the end that they can make an empire and use people and abuse people to line their own pockets and warp their souls. An act of compassion would stand up against those people and call them out and say, you're wrong. You're wrong for what you've done. That's compassion. That's compassion. Not compassion for those teachers, but compassion for the people that they are being that are being manipulated by those teachers. I'll contend with abusers because I have compassion on the abused. And I want you to say this, that if someone is abusing or harming others, then decency, just decency, demands a dispute with those people. We're going to continue doing what we're doing here on this channel. We're going to continue calling out false teachers, dealing with this stuff. And I want you to stay with me. I want you to subscribe to this channel because we're going to deal with this stuff. And decency demands a dispute. Compassion is contending and checking charlatans. That's compassion too. And so I want you to know that tonight. The abuse that's being taken place in the world today by false teachers, to me, is unbelievable. It's wrong. And I'm going to stand up and say, no, you're not doing that anymore. So pray for me. Pray that God would use me as we stand for what's right. We earnestly contend for the faith that's once delivered to the saints. And that'll be great. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We love you. Subscribe to our channel. Help us out by liking and sharing our videos. That puts us in the YouTube algorithm and helps us to get more views so that the message can be seen and the message can be given to a larger audience. We want to do that. So help us out with that. And we certainly appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a good night. Thank you.